and welcome to the episode 9, if you can believe it, of the Disco Cosmic. I am Disco, you are the Cosmic. Let's get started. Let's keep this to a notch. Let's keep it to a notch. You gotta keep striving for our goals, right? We keep this to a little notch about the astrology in this week, and then I'm gonna do a small, very, very simple tarot size, really illuminating the opposition between Mars moving into Libra, which happened today, and it will be on opposition, direct opposition to Saturn and Aries on August 8th. So we're going to do a tarot size around that because it's a really powerful opposition, and I'm always talking about those tensions, right? Where do we find the delicious tension between these archetypes and between these binaries? And this is one of those wonderful opportunities where in the cosmos it's so clear. It's so clear. This opposition couldn't be any clearer, right? I mean, Mars is in Libra, where it is in its detriment. Saturn is in Aries, where it is in its fall. Saturn is exalted in Libra, so it can see, right? When we talked about oppositions, it can see where it belongs, kind of up there, like, wow, right through the vortex, I am exalted. While Mars is, the ruler of Aries, so it can also see, can also see where it belongs, but yet they're opposing each other. So they're talking to each other. Think about two opposing, viewpoints really going at it. But we've got that nice, beautiful Libran signature of Venus, Venusian ideals, diplomacy. How do we solve conflict, peacefully, harmoniously? How do we use our words and our actions in order to create room for there to be conflict resolution that is not harmful or harm reduction, right? The least harmful for all parties involved. And how do we sort of sort that out internally? What kind of oppositions and binaries are we looking at ourselves and collectively? So, right, no big deal. We're just going to do that real quick. So, like I said, Mars moved into Libra today. Very, very interesting placement for Mars, right? Very powerful placement for Mars because Libra, the signature of Libra, ruled by Venus, Saturn exalted, is justice and equality and coming together as a collective and a community. And how do we really do what is best for ourselves and what is best for our community? Then we've got Mars there. Mars takes action. Mars is an action planet, right? It goes fast, it's fiery, it wants to, meet that conflict head on. And in that Libran signature, even though it is in its fall or in its detriment, Mars is in its detriment in Libra, even though it's in its detriment, when we talk about dignities, it's more about looking where are the spaces in that dignity, right? Like, yeah, okay, Mars is in its detriment. No, it's not very comfortable being harmonious and friendly in the Libran signature. However, is there space to harness that power? And is there space to harness that Martian energy in such a beautiful collective sign like Libra, ruled by Venus, Saturn exalted, that is about equality, justice, and so many of the things that these times are needing from us, from the micro to the macro and back again. So that's going on. We've got the full moon in Aquarius on Saturday. As you know, I don't do any kind of moon videos or anything like that. My moon practice is very private. I expect that out of anyone. And in not just in your moon practice or your moon rituals, but in any area of spirituality, you get to decide what resonates with you. That is the beauty of, and here I am, I've got an Aquarius natal moon. Here I am talking about from a very Aquarian moon point of view. Your individuality can dictate what parts of your spirituality you are very public with or you choose to share or not. So I choose to keep my moon activity very private, but that's my choice, and it doesn't have to be yours. And there's tons of content out there on the full moon in Aquarius, so I encourage you to check it out if it is something you are interested in learning more about. But that is happening on Saturday. So some of the things that I thought about during, while I was investigating these transits, one of them was the Tom Waits. It's very Tom Waitsy for me. when I was thinking about, this opposition between Mars and Libra and Saturn and Aries, and how they are going to directly oppose each other and really cause it's really a perfect illumination of do the right thing. What are the obstacles I have to, go around? What are the limits? What are the barriers? Where are they? Are they internal? Are they external? While Mars is like, act, act, act. Saturn is like, break, break, break. Stop, stop, stop. Here's some barriers. Here's some issues. Solve it. Mars is like, okay, let's solve it. And all this whole time, like I said, Saturn can see Libra. Saturn can see, I am supposed to be up there, exalted. Mars is taking my place. And these are the two major malefics. The two malefics talking to each other. Sorry, Saturn is the major malefic. Mars is the minor malefic. Talking to each other, right? They're talking to each other. And they're holding this space. So one of the things that came to my mind as I was kind of writing up today's session was the Tom Waits song, Fumbling with the Blues. And there is the line in there that's, two dead ends and you still got to choose. I mean, that's kind of the feeling that I am getting from Mars being in Libra opposing Saturn and Aries. Is two dead ends, but you still got to choose. Right, which one are you going to choose? You still got to do the right thing. There is no, life, and this is from 6 Feet Under. I don't know if anyone watched that show, but there is a character who says the line, if you look at life like it is a snack machine. Like if you put in just a certain amount of karmic good deeds, you're going to get out a bunch of candy. It's not the way life works. And really what I feel in this opposition is very much like Spike Lee, do the right thing. You do the right thing, whether you get the reward or not. You do it for the satisfaction of doing the right thing. And that is where this opposition, we can really start examining. What do we feel? What do we even feel like the right thing to do is right now? That's a personal question. That's something for you to answer and think about and reflect on as these planetary energies and transits are, really hitting us heavy this week. And again, look at it. Are these things pinging you in your houses? So my Saturn in Aries is my 4th house. So that's my family of origin. And it's, my sun is in Libra, right? So I got a lot of activity going on in this opposition, a lot of self-reflection, and it's also, I think, a revealing time, if you choose to. Never underestimate denial, okay? Denial is one of those coping mechanisms that people use because it works, right? Because it works very well, and they don't ever have to come out of it if they don't want to. However, in looking at these planetary transits, that is another thing that really struck me. This is an opportunity to be self-reflective. It is an opportunity to see, where am I opposing myself, right? Self to self. Where is that opposition, Saturn Aries, where Mars wants to go, but Saturn is saying, hold up, or Saturn is putting up a barrier that you don't want to think about, and your Mars wants to go around or circumvent or something, and it really can't. Because Saturn's also in retrograde. So there's extra Saturnian power going against this opposition. So this could be a really, really enlightening time if you choose to lean into it. And if you don't, you don't. No big deal. The disco loves you anyways. Always know that. So that, Tom Waits definitely came to my mind as I was studying just a lot of his songs. Another one from Mule Variations, Hold On. It's so hard to dance that way when it's cold and there's no music. I got shivers just thinking about when it's cold. It's so hard to dance that way when it's cold and there's no music. But yet, what is Mars going into Libra asking us as it opposes Saturn in Aries in retrograde? It's asking us to dance that way, even though it's so hard. It's so hard to dance that way. Got to do it anyways, right? Do the right thing. So those were, and I did actually look up Tom Waits' chart because, it's a very wonderful way to practice charts. I'm telling you, sit around, watch YouTube, watch some music videos, you look up an artist, and you can start to see where the planets are reflected in their chart versus their art. Chart versus art. So that's very, very fun. And so I did look up Tom Waits' chart. He does have both Saturn and Mars in Virgo, which is ruled and exalted by Mercury, which just went through this giant Mercury Kazemi. So there is a part of me that's like, it's not always astrology, except it's always astrology. Of course I looked up Tom Waits. Of course Tom Waits came through the ether of the cosmos to come down and be like, it's so hard to dance that way. Yes, come through. So you start to see, if you choose to. Again, yes, people can say it's all symbols, it's all the philosophy of astrology, it's all whatever. Everything in life is symbols, and it all truly is. You know, when it comes to these type of things, do you choose? Do you choose to put meaning to it? Do I choose to put meaning to the fact that I thought of those, you know, those Tom Waits songs came through me first as I was thinking of the opposition of Mars to Saturn from Libra to Aries? And then when I looked up his chart, right, he's got Saturn and Mars in where Mercury is exalted. And we just went through this giant Kazemi. So there are these potentialities around us if we choose to lean into them. Now, what does that mean in the grander scheme of things? I don't know, except that, you know, it's all the Matrix. Who knows? Tom Waits is trying to speak to me through the planets, and he got to me, so. And I choose to put that meaning to it. It doesn't mean, you know, it's all the liminal. It's all the liminal. Okay, so Mars and Libra, Action Under Pressure. The movie that I think of when I think of Mars and Libra 2 is, and I see you, Adam. I just wanted to point out Adam Elenbaas is also doing movies now in his 5 Things to Watch For, which I think is amazing and very, very cool because I love movies too. So I just want to say thank you to Adam for adding that, because I find movies, making that connection between movies and astrology to be extraordinarily helpful. So wanted to say thumbs up to Adam and a little shout out. The movie I thought of, because, you know, we're talking about Mars in Libra, so where it's in its detriment, where it's not very comfortable, where it wants to, you know, smash and grr and all these things, but that Venusian Libran signature really holding it back, really, you know, how do we do this in a way that creates harmony? It made me think of the movie Philadelphia, and also with the opposition to Saturn, right? If anyone's seen the movie Philadelphia, if you haven't, do yourself a favor, see it. It's wonderful. But it is about a man who is, you know, faced with injustice and has to really, really struggle against the system to find that, the system, Saturn, to find that justice. And it's just a beautiful movie. So that was one of the archetypal movies that I thought of. Spike Lee, which I already mentioned, Do the Right Thing. I mean, self-explanatory. Do the right fucking thing, okay? And guess what Saturn loves too? When the right thing is hard, which is going to be Mars and Libra, right? That's part of this transit of Mars and Libra, right? Saturn hears you. When you have done the right thing and it was really difficult, Saturn can, right? Saturn knows. It's the keeper of time. It's the keeper of liminal. It's the keeper of all the karma. It knows. I also thought of Gandhi, the movie Gandhi, which Ben Kingsley, again, it's a wonderful movie. It's also over 3 hours long, I feel. So that's Saturn right there, just to get through the movie, right? It's a very Saturnian movie to get through. But again, exemplifying that opposition and where Gandhi as a spiritual and political leader stood in between, and the actions, Mars, the actions that he took for the community, Libra, for equality, Libra, for his people, Libra, for justice, Libra, right? So I thought Gandhi is a great example of this opposition against all odds, right? With Saturn in Aries, Saturn in retrograde in Aries right now. Against all odds, Gandhi still took these social, beautiful, Venusian actions though, that stung, that hit, that made change. That's Mars and Libra. And the last example I wanted to point out was just the whole X-Men franchise, specifically X2 and Days of Future Past. Those are my personal favorites. You can have your own. But just the whole dichotomy between Professor X and Magneto. And if you're familiar with the X-Men universe, Professor X is more, you know, of the Libran construct. Professor X is more of the Saturn exalt in Libra, right? It's more of the, we can all figure this out and we can create this really utopian place where we can all exist with all of our differences. And Magneto is very much the opposite of that. Magneto is the Mars coming in and being like, nah, we're gonna fuck it up, right? You don't want us, we don't want you, fuck it. Like, but they also work together. You know, Magneto also, even though he has a very, very, you know, divisive, like Mars separates, Venus puts together, Martian type view of, you know, the mutants and the X-Men. And Professor X is up there, Saturn exalt, right, with a very Venusian utopian view of everyone being together and connected and harmonized. They are constantly working together and also working in the tension between their two beliefs. So I think that's, again, I always talk about the tension. There's that tension to find, and that's where we exist, and that's where we exist here on planet Earth, and that's where we make our decisions from on how do we act, how do we use astrology, how do we do the right thing, how are we showing up in action in a very, very dystopian kind of scope. And we've got this Aquarius full moon coming up. Dignities, really take them for what they are. Yeah, they're, my moon in Aquarius is a bit dinged up. It's not in the best placement, people would say. It's not, it's not ruling like in Taurus. But it's necessary if you think about it. Every placement of the planets, whether they're in fall, detriment, rulership, exaltation, they need to be there because they need to bring out those potentialities. Aquarius moon needs to bring out the potentiality of forward progression, technology, of, creating a utopian society, but not forgetting the heart and the chaos and the beauty of the individual person and the human heart. Those two things need to go together. They need to talk to each other once in a while. They need to be mixed around once in a while, right? So that's why, learning about all of these things and really focusing on, these big transits and carrying their energies through, not just through the week, not just through the month, through your soul. That's how we continue to build ourselves astrologically and become more grounded and centered on this planet Earth. So that's all I have for our little astrological preview for the week. We're going to do our little tarot size. It's going to be so simple, right? I really am this time, you guys. I'm going to make this a little nosh. And then I'm going to go because I'm tired and in Wisconsin and it's really hot here. So we're going to do a very, very easy tarot size for the collective. I'm going to be using the Illustrated Alchemist Tarot because it's a very Mars type deck. I mean, right, it's very visceral. It's very bloody. Right, swords. It's outright. I'm getting all these very Marsy cards off the bat. The Tower. Two of Wands. Right. So it's a very Mars-like deck. And it is a very Mars-heavy week. So that's why I chose it. So we're going to do one card for Mars, one card for Saturn. Where do you need to engage? Right. Where does Mars need to, come in and take action and be present and be seen? And then there's Saturn. Where's the disengagement? Where is limitations? What is going to be pushing back against that engagement? What are the things that are going to need to be overcome in order to make that connection and make that engagement? And then the last card I'm going to pick is what I'm always talking about, the tension in between. What is the advice then for that tension in between that Saturn and Aries opposition? Saturn retrograde in Aries, Mars in Libra opposition. What is the tension? What is the advice? Technically, it's the advice card. So very, very simple. All right, let's go. I've already done my invocation. I've already shuffled. I've already got tingles. Let's see what the tarot has in, and I love doing these spreads through the lens of astrology. I find it also a fun way to learn. So here we go. What's our Mars card? Knight of Wands. So what do we need to engage with? Right. What is the Knight of Wands speaking to you? And again, as I have been on these episodes of Disco Cosmic, talking about getting to know your chart. Where is Libra? Where is the Libra signature on your chart? What house is it ruling? What places in your life do you need to be a Knight of Wands in? Is it your career? Is it your love life? Is it your personal relationships, your friendships? Is it your money sector? Is it your family legacy? Where do you need to stand up? Where do you need to stand up? Do you need to come to someone's rescue? What is the right thing that you need to channel? I mean, this is a very Mars card, right? The Knight of Wands. Where do you need to channel this energy and go rushing in? Go rushing in to do the right thing, to engage. And so, knights are always on the move. Maybe you have to go somewhere. Maybe you have to do something. It's definitely a card of action. I mean, I couldn't ask for a more Mars card, right? So when we're asking, where do we want to engage? Where do we want to use that Martian energy in Libra? Knight of Wands is a very powerful card. Now, here comes the fun part, right? We've got all this wonderful Knight of Wands energy. So, oh, how interesting. What is the disengagement? We've got the Queen of Swords. Queen of Daggers in this deck. Queen of Swords for our Saturn card. So what are the limitations? Right, we can't just go rushing in because we've got to think about logic and strategy, which is also very Libra. Guess what else? This is an air sign card. It is Venusian. It can be under the umbrella of Libra type cards, of cards that fit in all the air signs, Aquarius, Gemini, or Libra. But the Queen of Swords, that is your disengagement or your barrier. Think about your actions, okay? Do not give in to the impulsivity that this Martian energy in Libra, or, ignore. Don't ignore logic. Don't ignore thought process. Think about Gandhi, okay? Yes, it's a 3.5 hour long movie. That director as well. He took the long road. And to quote one of my friends, Lilith, I also feel like this card is asking you not to take the path of least resistance when it comes to whatever this Martian action is in Libra. Do the right thing, do the hard thing. If it's usually the right thing to do is the hardest thing. But, we can get all flustered up and we can, make impulsive actions and make a big bang like fireworks, and then they just fade away and they're nothing. I feel like the Queen of Wands is coming in here as a Saturn card to let us know before we go rushing in, think about it and think about what are the barriers? How do you actually confront them? And how do you not bullshit yourself? Like I said, never underestimate denial. And I feel like Queen of Swords is one of those get out of denial cards. So if you want to actually make an effective action with this Mars and Libra energy, you're going to have to get real. You're going to have to check yourself. You're going to have to check the situation and see where is really the strategy. Where do I need to slow down and think about this? And where am I maybe not being honest with myself? Because that honesty with yourself, again, sometimes when we're the most vulnerable, we're the most powerful. That honesty with yourself can fuel, remember it's an opposition, it will fuel your Knight of Wands action. So very courageous, right? That, and I love that for Mars going through Libra, because truly, like I said, even though it's in its detriment, what a powerful position for Mars to be in the signature of justice, equality for all, right? I mean, Libra is such a beautiful Venusian place of harmony, connectivity, bringing things together while being, shifted on and hit on by Mars, which wants to tear everything apart. How do we make that work? And that's where I feel that Saturn opposition is coming into our favor. That's the next card, the tension. 10 of Cups. Right, slow it down, I feel. Slow it down, make a wish. What is in each of these cups? And remember, 10s are, finality. They're at the end of a cycle. Is there something that you need to put to bed? Is there something you need to end? How would you like it to end? Is there something that you would like to finish? How do you want it to finish? The 10 of Cups is a wish card. Make a wish. That's a motherfucking spell. You know. We're still in the disco here. But I really feel like this tension that is existing between Saturn and Aries and Mars and Libra is that you can make your dreams come true. You can make dreams come true. You can make wishes come true. You can make miracles come true. You can make things that seemed impossible. Again, potentialities, right? Things that seemed impossible, possible. Never underestimate the unknown, because you don't know what you're going to get. And with that Aries Saturn, or with that Mars Saturn opposition, that's a very, very liminal place to be. That's okay, I can stay in denial. I can stay on my own shit because it's warm, which a lot of people do, right? I mean, that's why people stay in their own shit, because it's warm, it's comfortable, we're fine here, Or you can get out, you can take a look at yourself in reality, what's going on in reality, you can brush it off, you can be like Spike Lee, you can do the right motherfucking thing, you can be the X-Men, you can be Magneto, or you can be Professor X, you can, whichever of those energies you want to harness, but know that they're available for you to harness. So that's our tarot size. Mars coming in very Marsy, right? Knight of Wands. Saturn, hey, hold up, think about it for a second, and let's get real, which Saturn will do. And what's that tension between? This is so powerful. What a powerful opposition, where the opposition itself between the two malefics, between Aries, between Libra, anything can happen. And to really, really grasp that potentiality that is happening in this transit with all the other transits, you know, and look that up too. I mean, Mars is doing much more than what I'm talking about today. Mars is doing a lot. There's a lot of Marsy shit going on. Let's harness that energy and make some shit happen. Make potentialities happen. Take the leap of faith. Dream the impossible dream. Well, you know, it's very... This opposition also, it reminds me very much of Don Quixote, right? I mean, it is also in that same vein of do the right thing, whether, you know, it does not matter the reward. It matters that you did the right thing. That is the reward in itself. And that's what you focus on. Very Don Quixote. Make your dreams come true. Dream the impossible dream. If there's an action in that Libran signature of community, collective, harmony, equality, justice, the times, use that Knight of Wands energy, and this is the tension in between. We can make our dreams come true. We can make a difference. We can make an impact. We can come to the end. We can close a cycle and move on to a next one. So, really proud and excited that we are on episode 9, and I just like to thank you all, always. I'm always walking in gratitude for anyone who looks at my videos, anyone who is out there, and anyone who entertains all this planetary nonsense that I got going on. You know, it is disco in the liminal. It is the 8th house club. It's gonna always get weird. It's always gonna be wonderful. It's always gonna be magic. And I am so happy to be here, and I invite you to continue on this journey with me. So thank you very much. My name is Disco. You're the Cosmic, and I am out. Mwah.